Well, at the moment, it looks like it could be the Storm and the Panthers. Obviously, injuries could play a part, but I do think that'll be the two sides that'll see the grand final, and I would throw Manly in as a team that could upset that. So I think it'll be a Storm Panthers grand final, but if one of those sides don't make it, I think Manly will be the other side in the grand final.
Providing Turbo's in health.
Well, providing he's playing, yeah, he's certainly helped that side. He's had a magnificent season when he's been there, and I think having him here has helped the other players as well. I think they've all improved as the season's gone along, and it hasn't just been Tommy Turbo. You know, he's had great games, but the other guys are doing their job as well now, and I think they grow in confidence when he's there, and that's helped them improve. So, yeah, you know, like the other week he didn't play, and they still played very well, Manly. I just think they're on a bit of a roll. They're coming good at the right time of the year, and they showed when they played Melbourne a few weeks ago how they could have possibly beaten Melbourne, and so I think, you know, the further they go, obviously the closer they're going to get to a grand final. And as I said, you look at it at the moment, you look at the Panthers, you look at the Storm, but I think Manly might be able to upset one of them and get themselves in there.
There's been a lot of talk about the Eels and their back, and do you think that's just sensationalising? Or, I mean, obviously they have those training periods throughout the year, so potentially the Eels went down if they were in a training phase.
Yeah, look, I guess we'll find out next week.
True.
But, you know, they weren't playing all that well. Then they had their first win for a long time against the Cowboys, but they didn't perform all that well either. It was a good victory for them, considering the way they'd been playing the previous 4 or 5 weeks. But that performance probably wouldn't have beaten the Storm. And then they've come out with this magnificent performance and sort of did everything right. Defensively, they were great. You know, they did a lot with the ball and attack, and they've gone on and beaten Melbourne. Now the expectation is that they will beat Newcastle because of that performance. So we've just got to wait and see. It's very much a mental thing now, and it's a bit of a toss-up as to whether Brad Arthur's done the right thing by resting players. And it's the same for every coach. People look at the results the following week and they go, well, that was wrong. He shouldn't have rested them, you know. But there's not much you can do. I tend to think he's probably had that worked out a few weeks earlier. Me personally, I probably would have been doing the same thing. But then when you saw their performance against Melbourne, I may have been tempted to say we're not going to rest everyone. Anyone that's got an injury won't play the following week, but majority will play just to keep the roll on going. It'll be interesting to see how those players that didn't come out last night, how they will perform next week.
That's true. I think I would probably go the opposite to that. I think that they've had the win against Melbourne and he wants to keep that confidence going into finals. If they would have come out and gotten thrashed by the Panthers with their full squad, that confidence would have been smashed before finals.
Yeah, that's true. It probably would have happened. But then you wonder what's going to happen to the guys that will be playing next week, the backup next week. There's a few guys that played there last night that will be in the side the week after. And then there's always the question that the guys that played against Melbourne that didn't play last night, they'll be fresh, but mentally will they be confident to go in and beat Newcastle? There's all these questions and you'll never know until after the game. And as I said, people will come out and they'll say, we shouldn't have done that, or we shouldn't have done this, or we should have done that. It's a difficult situation, and the coaches are looking at the end result is playing in a grand final, and you want to make sure all your players are not only fit, but they're fresh as well. And it's a fine line between getting that right and wrong. And unfortunately, you know, if you do get it wrong, well, you're going to cop a bagging for the rest of the season.
Yeah, true. Finally, what is the key to winning the finals? From Brett Kenny.
I think it's just playing consistent football, not changing anything. You know, you've got to look at the situation and say, well, this is how we played throughout the year and this is how we got here, doing it this way. So you don't change anything too much. You might have to change a few little things, but majority of the games you're playing it that way all the time. Yeah, you don't change anything. You don't change your routine. I know for me personally, I used to get up on a Sunday morning of grand final day and I'd have bacon and eggs for breakfast. And I used to do that every weekend and never changed. And we trained the same way during the week leading up to the grand final. The only difference for us, I guess, was that we used to go in to the cricket ground by bus instead of driving ourselves in. But that was the only thing. Everything else was the same. And I think that's the key to it, is just to just go through the same routine that you do every week. And as much as you'd like to say, well, it's just another game, and reality is it's just another game of rugby league. But unfortunately, there's a lot of publicity with it, and it becomes more of just another game. It's a big event, and a lot depends on how the individuals can approach that and can handle that, because there's some guys in the teams have never been spoken to by the media all year, and then come grand final time, suddenly everyone wants to talk to you, and sometimes that can affect players.
Yeah. So the media is the biggest mental hurdle for players.
Well, I think so, yeah, because you're playing every week, and it's not so much having yourself mentally right to play against a certain team. But I think it's more so, yeah, the media with the guys in particular that have never been spoken to by the media all year, but now there's only two teams to talk to, and they get to talk to everybody. So suddenly there's guys there that are in the limelight when they never were, and sometimes that can affect their ability to perform as well, because things have changed for them.
Yeah, so true. Well, thank you very, very, very much for being here.
That's okay. Pleasure.
It was really good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hope we get to catch up for a beer once lockdown finishes.
Go on to Sydney or wherever it's, yeah.